So today we need to speak about the strategy, the maintenance strategy. We hear the word strategy in many locations. Sometimes, what is your maintenance strategy? Sometimes, do you know the business strategy? Do you follow the business strategy? Are you aligned to the business strategy? So we think usually that strategy is only dedicated to business doing or to workplace. No, strategy is everywhere in our life. We will see this with examples during our chat today. When we are speaking and explaining what we mean by strategy and how to use it in the workplace, how to make it the best of it in the workplace, and of course how it's applied in our life. So we need also to focus by the title of this chat that strategy is not only for auditors. So usually when you have auditing TPM, ISO 9001 2015 version, or ISO 55000 for maintenance and so on, usually there's a question about, do you know the maintenance strategy? What is your maintenance strategy? Do you follow the business strategy? And so on. So at the end of the day, what is strategy? So simply, strategy comes after you have the mission and vision. Then you make a plan and you put some tactics. So the word tactics, even it's between the plans and the actions that you are going to do to implement your mission and vision. Okay, so mainly the strategy has some elements. These elements should be focused on the goals from the vision and mission. The goals from the vision and mission are your North Star. So the plan you follow to reach your North Star, your vision and mission, either your maintenance vision and mission, your personal vision and mission, or the company vision and mission. That's your strategy, your plan to reach with the tactics, the actual steps that you are going to take. Okay, so that's what we mean by the strategy. It's you have your targets and then you have a plan to reach the target and you follow this plan with the steps. So your strategy should include a description of the product. What is your product? The company product is the sellable product, but your product as a maintenance is the uptime, is the stability of the equipment, is the reliable equipment, is the mean time between maintenance, mean time to repair, and so on. So you need to have some products that you are selling to the other business partners, to the other silos of the organization, to the other business units of the organization, and even you are selling it to the end customers and to the business owners of the organization. And then how you will acquire those products, your products as in the maintenance, how you will acquire them and how you will retain them for the long time. Okay. Another thing that you need to understand is the regulations of the business, the financial regulations, the environmental regulations, the economic regulations, whatever regulations you need to understand. And then you put some tactics or some plans and some actions, some steps, how to cope with them, how you are going to cope with the strategies of the business regarding the financial and the economics and the environment and so on. Another thing is how you are going to achieve the vision of the business. The vision is some future view of the business after 5 years. So if the business is going to expand after 5 years to many locations, what is your plan to expand your maintenance to other locations? So that's how you are going to cope, how you put a tactic. So how you will prepare now. So after 5 years, you can extend your business activities or maintenance activities to 3 or 4 more locations. So your plan also should be from a helicopter view. When you have it in your strategy, it should be in helicopter view, not very much detailed, but it should be having a mix between the mission and vision and the actual steps that you are going to take. So it should be covering the view for long period, should be covering the view for many aspects, for all the sides of the business you are working, for all the sides of the maintenance, for the workshop, for the inspectors, for everyone. So it should have a view that can be adopted by everyone in your team. As from the business, it was having an overview that can be adopted by every business unit, by the marketing, by the financial, by the sales, by the production, by the maintenance, by the safety and security, by the stores, and so on. That's from the business side. Also, you in the maintenance, you should make your strategy that can be adopted or accepted by all your team from the different disciplines. So how this is related to maintenance? We need to give some example from the maintenance so you can understand it. Okay. So maintenance, mainly its target is to keep the business running. To keep the business running, the maintenance need to keep the asset performing up to the standards required by the business to achieve its goals or its objectives. So Maintenance anyhow is a core unit of the business, because otherwise you will not find anybody to maintain the asset performing what the business needs. So it's a core unit, and its main target is to maintain the assets of the that produce the end target, and producing the end product will generate a revenue for the business. So the maintenance product actually is the asset availability. So, and the maintenance end customers, the absolute end customers, are the stakeholders and the final users of the organization product. So, but the maintenance direct customers are the other business units, the financials, the stores, the purchase, the marketing, the operations, and so on. So all safety and security, your safety, your risk assessment department, if you're having one, or audit department, and so on. All this, your direct customers, which are within the business itself. Okay. The regulations also that you need to follow the regulations of the safety, as we said, the safety and environment, and we need to be followed by every business unit. So you should also in the maintenance reduce the wastes and so on. What's important also is that the maintenance vision can't be different from the organization vision. It should support it. So if the organization vision, as we said before, was to expand to different production locations within a few years, so the maintenance need from now to start to build a system that can be inherited by other locations, having autonomous groups, having digital maintenance system that can be adopted by every place else in the business. Okay, we cannot put the main target of the maintenance to reduce the expenses by 5% yearly, while that's not in the business target or in the main company target. Okay, so we need to include our tactics, preventive, predictive maintenance, corrective maintenance, and so on, to be aligned with the business mission and vision. It's not only to say to the auditors, otherwise we'll be working in a silo, isolated from the other business units, and we will not feel harmony in the maintenance with the other business units. So when we say that there is a strategy for each part of the business, it's not to be in files and for the editors when they ask about it. We should apply it and use it. So shall we call it, that's a bit of dilemma, shall we call it maintenance tactics or maintenance strategy? Actually, the tactics are actual steps you use to reach something, but they need to have a goal that you are going to reach. So when you say maintenance tactics, that will take you to a goal of the business, so it can be said as it is a maintenance strategy. So when the business strategy is focusing in cost reduction for this year, for example, so the main target of the maintenance should be also to minimize the rework, to minimize the overtime, to minimize the spare parts used, to increase the efficiency of the maintenance. Okay, when the business is calling for, the business strategy is calling for a leading position in the market, the business strategy also should focus on being the best in class and to have the benchmarks, world-class benchmark. If the best quality is the target of the business, then we should focus in the maintenance to eliminate failures or partial failures that affect or compromise the quality. If the company is saying that we will work on the efficiency of the resources, we'll have efficient use of the resources to reduce the waste. So this should also be the target of the maintenance, to reduce the waste of the resources it is using. Oils, lubricants, parts, defective parts, and so on. All this should be minimized. This should be having physical steps in our strategy, practical steps, so we can follow it and to achieve the business strategy. So we said that strategy actually is part of our life, not only part of our business. Actually, it started from our life. So think about two examples from life I'm going to speak about. So think about your work. Or your study. We start first with your study. So when you are going to the school, you have study strategy. This study strategy will achieve your goal. So if your goal is only to pass your exams, so you will have a certain strategy. Why you are making this strategy? Because you have other goals of having hobbies, having other priorities, things you are doing, side work, and so on. You need to continue your study and so on. So your strategy regarding the study will be just to pass the exams and to move to the next year and so on, because you have other targets. So this your strategy, which is fulfilling your target, which is fulfilling your mission and vision, because you are focusing more on your hobbies, playing sports, or having other job while you are studying and so on. Maybe your target to be is best in class. So even if you are called a nerd, during your study years, but you have this as your North Star to be the best in class, and then you follow your strategy in studying and passing the exams and so on. We'll focus on this strategy. So suppose that we go to another thing. For example, when we decide to travel, we can say that this point is going to explain to you the different point of views of one target. For example, that I'm going to have a trip this year or have a vacation this year and to travel with the minimum cost. The target of the minimum cost itself can come from many reasons. It's not only from one reason. Maybe I'm in a challenge with my friends that I'm going to travel 5 countries with the minimum cost. The best in the minimum cost ever had traveled 5 countries with. Maybe I have a target, I have a limited budget, but I have a target to travel. So then I'm going to compromise between my travel plans and my budget. Maybe during my travel, because I'm involved in business and so on, I don't like the formal dressed hotel receptions and guests and the formal protocols and so on. So I need to go to smaller motels, smaller hotels, these areas that nobody knows me and I don't know anybody, and it's out of the formalities and so on. And that's why I put a low budget for my trip, so I don't go to these 5 stars or 7 stars hotels and so on. So you can see that only traveling with minimum cost can have 3 or 4 reasons why you are doing this. But you need to understand your North Pole or your North Star, then you follow your North Star, and then you put the tactics how you will achieve this North Star of a vacation with the minimum cost. Also, one important thing is that the strategies need to be realistic. So I can't ask the maintenance team to to analyze every maintenance activity and to have analysis for a few months or for many days and so on, while they're having hundreds of assets and they don't have a computerized system to use. They need to do it manually and so on. So that's not realistic. Also, supposedly that the regulations or the national regulations that the overhead cranes should have some preventive maintenance based on tight schedule activity, and I'm going to change the part on tight schedule and tight measures and so on. So if I decided to implement predictive maintenance for the overhead cranes, and then I'm going to make a fluctuating maintenance cycle based on the condition of the parts and so on, like this, it's useful for the business and can be realistic actually, but it's not fitting with the national regulations regarding the overhead cranes. It's very important that I need to match with all the strategies we had said in the beginning, with all the financial, the environmental, the business units, the North Pole of the company, and so on. I need to make my strategy to fit all of them together: the safety, the cost, and so on. So, and it need to be realistic that it need to be implemented. Okay. When we are going to pass the strategy to our team, because that's the request now of the ISO 55000, ISO 9001, 2015, when I'm going to pass it to my team. So when there's an audit and it asks them about do you know the strategy and how to align the strategy, I need to understand that now all the systems need to ensure that the business leaders or the business units leaders, they understand the company strategy and they are aligned with it. That's not intended to frustrate the business leaders or the employees and so on. The target from this is to streamline all the efforts of the business employees to working on the same target. So in the maintenance, I'm working on the minimum cost like all the other silos of the organization or the other business units of the organization. So all our efforts are streamlined. If the efforts are not streamlined, everyone is moving on a different target or a different approach, then there will be a friction, because every one of us will be moving in a certain direction and the company will not have its powers aligned to reach to its targets. So it's not only to reach the company targets, it's actually, as I told you, there will be friction between the business units because everyone is working on a different target. We don't see the other parties' targets aligned with our targets, so we have some friction in between and we feel isolation, they feel isolation, and so on. So the bottom line is strategy is intended to be used, applied, and to serve us. I left you with with a couple of resources with uptime and reliability from Ramesh Gulati and maintenance and reliability best practices, and uptime from V. Rees Penknell. They are great resources to follow. You will find a lot of resources in our videos, in our previous videos. So join our channel. You can ask for our services on either on Fiverr. You will find the link in the description of the video. You can join our trainings. You can read the full length of this article to follow it in your life and in your work. You can find the link also in the description of the video. Join the channel, spread the information. Let's see you in a coming video with more insights from maintenance.